When many people think of Appalachian history, they think of Daniel Boone crossing the Cumberland Gap, bringing with him European, Anglo, and German people to shape the wilderness. But the lives that shape Appalachian history are much more diverse than that. In this storytelling project, we have folk tales from Anglo origins, but also stories from Syrian, Cherokee, African American, and Italian sources come to life. All these stories shape Appalachian history, especially here in eastern Kentucky. Herein is this weaving of stories from all sorts of Appalachians.
My name is Octavia Sexton. I grew up in eastern Kentucky, Rockcastle County. And my people are English, Irish, Scottish, and a lot of the stories all the stories that I grew up knowing are from overseas. And my grandma and grandpa lived to be almost 100 years old. They were born in the 1800s, but I knew my grandma and grandpa. And I spent many a time sitting and listening to them tell stories. Now, Grandpa had more Irish in him. Grandpa had more English in her. And they were all the time. I mean, one drunk coffee. Of course, Grandma was tea. One drunk 7-Up. The other drunk Coke. And they liked to just compare their ancestry, you know, like one better than the other. But I listened to them telling stories. Now, my grandma and grandpa never got a formal education. They were very intelligent people. They knew how to live off the land without any money. And that's how they raised their family, that's how they lived. But they didn't read or write. And so it was an oral tradition. I learned about my people coming over all the way from the 1600s with first settlers in Rockcastle County, my people. And I know places they lived that does not stand there anymore. I know about the wolves chasing some of my people into a log structure that the roof was off of, and they huddled up there all night while the wolves circled around. I know when there were still animals that are not here anymore. I know all about this because I was told, and it was preserved through the telling. I went to a one-room school, and no, I did not know George Washington. Sometimes people ask me that, but no. But I went to a one-room school. We had outhouses, and we hauled our water. And we didn't have things like everybody thinks they have to have today to play with. No. We told stories. We sang songs. We played Farmer in the Dale. We were never bored. Now, I'm going to tell you what's called a jack tale. These stories originated over there in Europe, mainly English stories. And Jack, he was a common feller. He wasn't rich. He couldn't be a king. He could become a king, but in the beginning, no king. He was just common. Average. He wasn't evil, but he might tell a lie if it was for his benefit. And the stories about Jack came over here with the Europeans. And they made their way into the Appalachian Mountains, and we started changing them. Because, come on, we don't live in cottages. We lived in log houses. We didn't eat kidney pie or whatever that is. We ate squirrels and rabbits, and well, Mommy even cooked possum and groundhog, and you know, you're gonna get the, I even ate squirrel brains. So I grew up in this tradition. And Jack came over here with those Europeans, but the stories did, but I'm gonna tell you how Jack got to America. Now, I tell these stories in my Appalachian dialect. Some people say that's bad grammar. It is not bad grammar. Just like they say that standard English, speak good grammar. That's not the good grammar. There's a standard. That's what it's called, a standard. And that's because language is so human beings can communicate with one another. And you might not understand German, and somebody starts speaking to you in German, you're like, what? I don't know what you're saying. And that's the same way with your dialect. You're trying to communicate with somebody, and they're looking at you and like, I don't know what a tater is. So you need to learn standard English just so that people can understand you. Don't you ever be ashamed of your dialect. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to tell you this here story. Well, it was way back in a long time ago. And there was this here feller named Jack. Now, he lived over yonder in England with his mom, and he had two brothers, Will and Tom. Well, their daddy went off to work one day and never did come back. Nobody knows what happened to him. But those boys had got grown. And their mama said, boys, y'all need to get out and get you a job. You can't stay here with me forever. You need to get out, make you some money, and get out on your own, get you a woman. Well, they agreed. And so Will, he was the oldest, and he said, all right, y'all, I'm going to go looking first. And he headed off toward town, and he met this man coming from town, and he said, buddy, he said, I'm looking for work. So I was going to head into the city there and said, I wonder if you know of anything. That man said, hey, I could put you to work. I've got a business, and I'm working them day in and day out. Said, you could take first shift, second shift, third shift. I'll give you a job. Will said, well, said, I've got two brothers at the house. Can you work them? You send them in. You all decide what shift you want. Show up. Well, Will, he went back to the house. He said, boys, I got us all a job. Now, since Will was the oldest, he picked first. He took first shift. Tom was second oldest. He took second shift, and that left third shift to Jack. Well, it came time for Will to go to work. He took going into town, met an old woman. She was all bent over, hobbling along. Had a big old bundle of sticks on her back. She said, hey, will you help me with these sticks? They mighty heavy. Will stop just for a moment. Listen, I can't help you with those sticks. If I stop to help you with those sticks, I'm going to be late for work. If I'm late for work, my boss is going to fire me. If my boss fires me, I ain't going to be making no money. If I don't make no money, I'll never get out of the house and never get me no woman. I can't help you. And he went right on. Well, second shift. There goes Tom, walking into work. Met that same old woman, hobbling along. Big old bundle of sticks on her back. Would you help me with that big bundle of sticks? He stopped just for a moment. I can't help you with those sticks. If I stop to help you with those sticks, I'm going to be late for work. If I'm late for work, my boss is going to fire me. If my boss fires me, I ain't going to make no money. If I don't make no money, I'll never get out of the house. If I don't get out of the house, I'll never get me no woman. I ain't helping you. Went right on. Time for Jack going to work. There he is going along, met that same old woman, all bent over, big bundle of sticks on her back. Hey, will you help me with these sticks? They mighty heavy. He stopped for a moment. I can't help you with those sticks. If I stop to help you with those sticks, I'm going to be late for work. If I'm late for work, my boss is going to fire me. If my boss fires me, I ain't going to make no money. If I don't make no money, I'll give it out of the house. And if I never get out of the house, I'll never get me no woman. I can't help you. She was so pitiful. Please, they mighty heavy. Oh, daggone it. All right. See, Jack always had a kind heart. He said, I'll help you, but we got to make this quick. Well, unloaded that big old bundle of sticks. He reached over to pick that bundle of sticks up, and she grabbed Jack, throwed him right up over her back, and she commenced to running him up there on her back, him going boobity, 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 boobity. He thought, whoo, this woman can run. She hit 80 miles an hour. Dust falling out her big old brogue-in shoes, and they were running right toward a mountain. Jack thought, oh, Lord, if she don't slow down, we're going to hit that mountainside, and ain't nothing going to be left to us except two greasy spots. We fixing to die. But that mountainside opened up. Big old cave right in to the mountain they ran. Pitch black dark. While she was running through narrow passages, jumping over bottomless pits. She was dodging stalactites, stalagmites for 10 miles into the bottom of the earth. She went before she stopped. Throw Jack off of her back. There was a big old pot a boiling right there. She handed Jack a wooden stick. You stir that. See, she was a witch. Yeah, she was a witch. And she was cooking up a potion to make her the wisest person in the world. And she was spending her days up yonder on the earth, gathering the herbs and such what she needed for that potion to make her wise. And while she's up there a-gathering, she needed somebody to stir that pot to keep it from biling dry. And that's what she had Jack for. Well, there was no way in a lifetime Jack could ever find his way out of that cave. So he stirred. And time passed. And it came to the last day of that year. Now, she was wanting to make sure everything was in that pot, which it already was. But she really wanted to make sure. So she was up yonder grabbing just weeds, bark, such it didn't make no difference. And she was taking longer. And that pot was boiling down lower and lower and lower. And Jack was thinking, if she don't hurry up, it's going to boil dry. There ain't going to be nothing left. Well, when the last little bit was boiling and bubbling there on the bottom of that pot, here she came within Jack's eyesight. She started approaching him, and the last few drops popped out and hit him on the hand where it was hot. He went, ow! And he licked it off. Like that. Every bit of that wisdom was in Jack. And now he's the wisest person in the world. And being as wise as he was, he knowed his way out of that cave. And he commenced to running through the darkness. Why, he was a-jumping over those bottomless pits. He was a-dodging those stalactites and stalagmites. He came out of that cave a-running just as fast as he could. But remember, she's a witch. She can run 80 miles an hour, yeah. She's a-gaining on him. And while she gonna eat him up, because she thought if she eats him, then she'll get all that wisdom into her. Well, he couldn't outrun her, and so, being as wise as he was, he turned himself into a rabbit. Hippity-hoppity, hippity-hoppity, hippity, right into the woods. I mean, he was there, and he was gone. Being as wise as she was, she turned herself into a beagle hound. Right after him she went. You know, they got a good nose. They can catch them rabbits. And he's like, hippity-hoppity, hippity-hoppity. He's like, hippity-hoppity, 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 hippity-hoppity. And right when she was fixing to grab his little bunny tail, he turned himself into a bird. Went flying up above the trees into the sky. Looked down, there she was. He looked down. Went flying away. Well, being as wise as she was, she turned herself into a hawk. Threw up the tree she went. On up into the sky above Jack. And she began diving down with those claws open. He's like, and right when she was fixing to grab him, he turned himself into a kernel of corn. Fell right into a field after harvest time amongst all those other kernels of corn. And Jack was trying to be the best kernel of corn he could be. And that hawk was circling around, and she landed right about where she knew Jack had fell. Now, hawks don't eat corn. Chickens do. She turned herself into a chicken, and she began to gobble up corn. And she swallowed Jack down. But before she got him all the way down, he stuck in her goozler and turned into a baby. She turned herself back into that old witch, trying to cough him up. Ran out of that field. There was a group of men butchering hogs. She grabbed one of those pig bladders. You know, they make good balloons. Coughed him right up in that pig bladder. She done made up her mind there ain't enough room in England for me and Jack both. And she went to the seashore and she throwed him into the ocean. Well, there Jack was, a little bitty baby, floating with the waves. Float, 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 float. Float, 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 float. And being as wise as he was, he not only survived, he growed. And eventually, those waves washed him up on dry ground. And by this time, he was a full-grown man. He tore his way out of that, looked around, and being as wise as he was, he knowed he was standing in the United States of America. And being as wise as he was, he knowed the best place in the United States of America to settle down in was the great state of Kentucky. And being as wise as he was, he knowed the best place to go in Kentucky was the Appalachian Mountains. And that's where he settled, became a pig farmer, was so successful, he was able to send for his mama, Will and Tom, bring them over here too. And they became prosperous farmers. And that's how Jack got to America. And that's the truth. And that's the end of that their story.